of the hardest moments for many parents is not getting the ADHD diagnosis. It's figuring out what to say next. Should you tell your kid? Will they feel different? Will they think that something is wrong with them? The words you choose during this conversation is going to shape how they understand themselves for years. Receiving an ADHD diagnosis often brings relief for parents, but also uncertainty. Many parents ask, should I even tell my child? The answer is usually yes, but how you tell them matters just as much as the diagnosis itself. Children notice when they are struggling. They notice that they get into trouble more often. They also notice that they are working harder comparing to other kids. And if no one gives them any explanation, they also develop their own explanation, which is unfortunately something like, I am lazy, I am bad, I'm stupid, or I always mess things up. So giving an age-appropriate explanation can replace self-blame with understanding. One mistake sometimes parents make is letting ADHD become their child's identity. Instead of saying something like, you are ADHD or you have ADHD, try communicating, ADHD is one way your brain works. Children are far more than just a diagnosis. They are creative, funny, kind, curious, persistent, and ADHD is actually only one part of who they are. Now, every child is different, so there is no perfect script, but something that I really encourage parents to do is using a very simple language which is age appropriate, and they can also use metaphors. For example, you can try something like that. Can I tell you something about your brain? Imagine your brain is like a really smart puppy. Puppies are curious. They notice everything. They get excited easily. Sometimes they run from one thing to another before they finish what they were doing. That doesn't mean they are bad puppies. It just means they are still learning how to slow down, listen, and come back when they are called. Some people's brain is a bit like that too. Your brain is full of curiosity, full of ideas, and sometimes it notices so many interesting things that it's harder to stay with one of them. And that's okay. We can learn ways to help your puppy brain slow down when it needs to. The goal isn't to convince your child that something is wrong with them. The goal is to help them understand themselves with less confusion and less shame. The exact metaphor doesn't matter that much. If your child loves dinosaurs, trains, or superheroes, you can use examples that make sense to them. What matters is helping them understand that their brain works differently, not that it's broken. Sometimes parents describe ADHD like a life sentence. They use something like, you'll always struggle, school is going to be really hard, or you have a disorder. But young children don't need this kind of frightening labels. Instead of that, you should stay focused on what ADHD helps explain. For example, sometimes your brain has a harder time slowing down, or sometimes focusing takes more effort, or sometimes big feelings arrive really quickly. Those explanations are easier for children to understand comparing to a clinical language. It's important not to swing to either extreme. Don't pretend that ADHD has no challenges, but don't make it sound like only problems either. So many children with ADHD are creative, curious, really kind, great problem solvers, full of energy, and they are able to notice things other people miss. So you can acknowledge both realities. For example, there are some things your brain finds harder, and there are also things your brain may do really well. Children often ask simple questions. For example, they might ask you, am I different? Did I do something wrong that I have ADHD? Will everyone know that something is wrong with me? Can I still do what I want when I grow up? You don't need the perfect answers, honestly. You just need calm and honest ones. If you don't know the answer, that's also fine. Try something like, that's really a good question. Let's learn about it together. Another common mistake is blaming every behavior on ADHD. Sometimes children forget because of ADHD, sometimes they simply make mistakes like every other child. Keeping that balance helps children build responsibility without shame. Children don't just hear what you say, they also watch how you say it. So if you seem really frightened by that diagnosis, they also become frightened. But if you speak really confidently, they learn it. So try something like this. This is something that we can understand. This is something we can work with. You are still yourself. One conversation won't shape your child's entire future. What matters most is creating an environment where they feel safe asking questions and where they know they are accepted exactly as they are. An ADHD diagnosis should never become a child's definition of themselves. Instead, it can become a tool that helps them understand their experiences with less confusion and less shame. As an ADHD counselor, I often work with parents who are not sure how to have this conversation with their children. But there's actually no perfect script. What children usually need most is reassurance, understanding, and adults who can help them make sense of what they are experiencing without making them feel broken. If you are navigating ADHD as a parent, or you are an adult with ADHD who's only now making sense of your own ADHD experiences, you don't have to navigate it alone. If you are looking for ADHD counseling, you can always check my website for more information.